Welcome to Book Crew. We are on KCCC 930 in Carlsbad, New Mexico on Mondays at noon. We're available on YouTube under the Task Force Geek banner, and by the time you hear this, we'll be on every major podcast aggregator out there. I am writer and marketing Jedi Dark Hooper, and I'm joined as always by author and editor Beth A. Freely. How are you doing, Beth?
I'm doing good, Dirk. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm having all kinds of technical issues here.
Well, you so have a dinosaur for a computer.
I'm trying to get through that process. Tell us about your book that you were going to talk about.
Oh my gosh! So, have you ever started a book or a series and just you fought with it and you fought with it and you fought with it? No matter what you did, you just couldn't get it off the ground.
Sure.
Have you run into that? Okay.
Oh,
so a couple of weeks.
Many times.
That has been my collaborative series, and anybody who knows me, they know about the collaborative. They know what the whole story idea was and how, I've been trying for years to do something with this, probably for as long as, I've been published with Dorian. So I came across some covers by cover artists that I really like, and I fell in love with the 3 covers and I bought them. $60 for the 3 ebook covers. I was like, I got some ideas. And they were kind of chest-based, the covers.
Yeah.
And everything. And so I started working through the ideas and everything, and I came up with this idea for, instead of the collaborative, I am writing a series called The Iron Syndicate. I started the first book. It was supposed to be a trilogy at first. It has morphed into 9 books at the moment.
Oh, wow.
I am retiring the collaborative. I am going to steal a couple of characters that I was originally going to write for the collaborative. I am stealing them for the Iron Syndicate, and then I am retiring the collaborative series altogether. Because it's just the Iron Syndicate, so far, what I have done with the research that I have put into just the first 3 books alone, sitting down and playing multiple games of chess against the computer to come up with a scenario for 3 of the other books to use as chapter titles. And that was fun because I haven't played chess in quite a few years. Diving again into Russian culture, I realized that I am 7 chapters into the first book of the Iron Syndicate, Silent Ronin, and it is already what I wanted the collaborative to be. And so I'm shifting, and sometime I'm hoping before August of this year to have the first book of the Iron Syndicate out, the Silent Ronin. That's the cover.
Cool. Yeah, this cover looks great.
I had to get my other cover artist, Stephanie, I went to her, I said, Stephanie, I need 6 more covers. I said, here's the idea. She's like, all right, I got you. And so that's the Silent Ronin. I have the other 2 covers for that series. I've been ticking off boxes of, interesting things that I've always wanted to research. I signed up for Busu to learn more Japanese than just, domo arigato and konnichiwa. Because, you read The Dirty Professor. So you know how I will immerse myself into the culture I am writing about. And that's what's going on right now. So right now I'm completely immersed in Japanese culture. I'm going to throw it out there. I'm going to throw a hats off to actor Hiroyuki Sanada for being a very big inspiration for my character Hiro Tanaka. Huge fan of Hiroyuki from The Last Samurai all the way now to Shogun. So I'm going to happily blame him for this series, for the first 3 books, actually getting kicked off. But yeah, so I'm looking at a June or July release for the Silent Ronin.
Cool. That's pretty quick. That's a pretty quick turnaround.
It is moving like wildfire. I sat down. I have not done a full blowout outline since Beyond the Steps of Stone. And I sat down over the course of 4 days and did a complete and utter blowout outline for The Silent Remnant. The outline alone is 114 pages because it's the outline plus bits and pieces of chapters, where I started with the outline and I blew it out. And now I'm actually just taking that blowout and, turning it into full chapters. Probably 5 of the first 7 chapters are over 2,000 words.
Wow.
It's just writing itself. I can sit here and do a chapter. I've been trying to do a chapter a night, at about 2,000 words. So about an hour and a half worth of work on the book. So a June, July published date is very doable. Yeah, it's super doable.
Well, we'll keep up with you on that. And I'm anxious to see how it comes out. It sounds great.
We've got a couple of mutual... We got a couple of mutual friends who are already chomping at the bit for this one.
I bet. I bet I know exactly who
you know exactly who you're talking about. We're talking about you, Steve.
Well, let's get right. Let's get to our feature interview because I think that he has some similar interest to what you were just talking about.
Oh yeah.
Mick Heyman, CFA, has a distinguished 40-year career in wealth management. Mick has a reputation for helping individuals and institutions grow and preserve their wealth through a stress-free approach to investing. Mick began his career at a small firm in Cincinnati before advancing to a role in Louisville, where he managed equity portfolios for a prestigious team overseeing billions in assets. Eventually, he transitioned to San Diego, where he now works closely with individual investors, some of whom have been with him for over 3 decades. Mick holds a bachelor's degree in economics from Northwestern University and is a Chartered Financial Analyst. Although his formal education is in economics, Mick's passion for philosophy and psychology has greatly influenced his understanding of market dynamics, emphasizing the role of human emotion in financial decision-making. Mick shares his insights on sound money management through articles on LinkedIn and has been featured in the Wall Street Journal and other financial publications. Maybe you've heard of it. His work highlights the importance of a balanced approach to wealth, viewing financial health as integral to overall well-being. He also has a deep appreciation for mystery novels and Russian literature, Beth.
Yes.
Welcome to the show, Mick Heyman.
Well, thank you very much, Dirk and Beth, and great introduction. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I didn't realize you were into Russian literature, so that's awesome.
That was my favorite class in college, and people always say, "Oh, economics and statistics," and I nearly didn't pass a couple of those classes, but Russian literature, that was that great passion and. When I look back after a decade or two in the business, I thought that's what really helped me. Understanding human emotions and that kind of thing. Everyone attaches numbers to the stock market, but predicting the future that deals with human emotions. And I thought Dostoevsky and some of those Crime and Punishment and Brothers Karamazov were my favorites. And
those are my favorites by Dostoevsky too. Yeah.
Tell us about your book, Mellow Your Money.
So, for years I've kind of struggled with, watching the news and all the amount of attention there is to day in and day out market trading and thinking this is so unhelpful for people and so misleading. And I thought, of course, having kids go through school and such and thinking no one is really educated with how to manage your money.
You got that
so
right.
Because of that, we're all vulnerable to the constant noise that's out there now more than ever with social media and such. And I thought, gosh, and the way I saw people make money over time is through the long term. And of course, the rules of investing are not that complicated. It is not brain surgery. But the moment you're faced with your own emotions, you throw those rules out the window. And and then you're left in a panic and such. And gosh, if we, it never stops. The market and our lives never stop. There's always something to worry about. I was just talking to somebody today, and they said, "Boy, this is surely a good time to think of calming down, isn't it?" And I said, "Yeah, but so is last year and the year before." And
Right.
so anyway, long-winded answer to your question. I really wanted to try to help people relax and focus on the long term, not get sucked into all this noise. And the other thing I thought was the way I learned, of course, we just talked about Russian literature. It was through stories and through experiences. And so there's plenty of textbooks, good textbooks on, the basics of money management. I wanted to have something that was a little more fun to read, hopefully, and, told stories about my life and what lessons I learned. Some of the stories were how I learned in the market. And some of those taught me about my life, and some of my life lessons taught me about the stock market. And so I just thought, have a fun book where you can learn through my stories, and hopefully it helps.
So what would you say is your overall philosophy behind your book?
The overall philosophy is to think of the long term. And in order to do that, one of the keys is to know yourself. So often, you talk to a financial expert, and they put you in a box. Maybe you're whether you're 30 years old or 50 years old or whatever it is, they ask you a few questions, and immediately they've thrown you into a box. And all of us need to think of the simple way of looking at it is, how much risk can you take? And there was a great trader back in the 1920s who professed, you should always take stocks down to your sleeping level, because if you do that, then you'll be able to make important decisions when the market is fluctuating like crazy. And each of us has that different level. Some people, with $10,000 say, I don't care. I'll risk it all. Some people, you lose 5 or 10% and they're going to panic. So each person has to figure out from their own inner self, what is it that you're willing to risk? And then realize that surprises and unpredictable things happen constantly. And so be able to first know yourself, and then admit that all these so-called experts out there have no crystal ball, no ability to really predict the future. And so what is it that we can hang our hat on? It's the long term. And if you have that patience, then when everybody says, oh my God, how can anyone invest now because things are so manipulated and the market goes up more than it should and then it goes down more than it should? Well, if you're a long-term investor, you don't care. If it goes up more than it should, then you sell a little bit. If it goes down a little more dramatically, then you can buy a little bit. You can only do that if you're not panicking. And that gets circle back to that sleeping level. And so that's the basic concept. And I, of course, tell this in so many different stories, from clients that I met that taught me lessons to experiences that I had that really taught me about the unpredictability of things and then how to deal with them when they do happen.
You are selling a common sense kind of what I would term unsexy version of investing, but makes more sense than anything that I've ever heard from someone.
Right.
Which is, I mean, I've heard forever, if you play the long game, that's what wins. The people who are doing whatever, day trading and stuff, that's no different than gambling.
No question. And there are ways of doing day trading if you're a professional. But there too, you have to know yourself. I have a little part in the book where I talk about meeting a great trader. And he stood in front of us and he said, I'm going to tell you exactly what I do. I'll tell you the exact discipline that I follow. And I guarantee none of you will be back in a year who have successfully followed my discipline. And of course, we're all young people. We're sitting there going, challenge accepted. And we're going to make millions of dollars doing this thing.
Sure.
I couldn't do it. It required losing on most of your trades, because he was saying you just wanted to eliminate all big losses. So you had to take little losses all the time. Well, believe me, after taking 6, 8, 10, 12 little losses, you're done. You're either done or you say, oh, this one I'll hold on to. And believe me, the market almost like invariably knows that's the one you're going to lose a lot of money on. And then you're totally wiped out.
Right.
And so, yeah, getting back to what you're saying, day trading. And of course, the other thing is understanding that there's always going to be somebody who told you how much they made doing X, Y, Z. Right now, it's cryptocurrency. Back in the 90s, you guys probably even remember the Beanie Babies.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, we all owned them with our kids, but none of us are paying for college education with them.
Oh, heck no.
No, and you're absolutely right, because I worked in a comic book store at that time, and people were coming in and saying that they were investing in Beanie Babies. Hey, I have a collection that I'm putting together literally to pay for my kids' college degree. And that didn't work out so great.
No. And there's a great book. I'm struggling with the name of it, the Mania of Crowds or something. But there is a story in there of all these great manias. And of course, it was written before Beanie Babies. But one of the great ones, you may have heard of the tulip bulbs.
Right.
Back in the 1600s. Yeah. And when I read this, I thought, this is the dumbest thing. How are these people doing this? Buying tulip bulbs that literally you could buy houses with a tulip bulb.
That's crazy.
It doesn't change. Human nature, and of course, getting back to the whole Russian literature thing, human nature does not change. And our ability to speculate and to say, this has never happened before. Those words, someone said, those are the costliest words that you could ever say.
Oh, yeah.
That this time it's different. When the pandemic hit, everybody's saying, well, this has never happened before. But, our memories are gone. I mean, 9/11, of course, wasn't a pandemic, but it had the same scare.
Same effect,
yeah. We thought the world was coming to an end.
It
was only 20 years beforehand, and yet we... Of course, this has never
happened before.
And believe me, there will be something else. And I wish I could tell you. I would be a real popular guest if I could tell you what the next thing was.
For sure. And we're always reacting to the last big thing that we did. Mm-hmm. We're all correcting those things, and we're completely blind to the, we're never proactive. We're always reactive.
We're always reactive. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. No, so that's basically what I'm trying to, in different ways, show people that it happens in our lives and the market never stops, with sports betting that, of course, going on today.
Yeah.
There's an end result. And that's, the game ends and you win or lose. With the market, you can be patient. You can be early. If you wanted to have half your money in stocks and the market goes way up and you say, oh, well, now it's 60% because the market's way up. I'll cut it back to 50. And the market keeps going up. That's okay. There's all this regret that's out there. But just if you follow those simple things, in the end, you'll be successful and you won't have made the mistakes that people make when they're worried about every third thing that someone's talking about.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. You're the first nonfiction author that we've interviewed.
Yep.
And I'm curious about what your process is for bringing all of your experiences and all of the things that you want to say together to write a book about it, because I imagine that that's a pretty daunting task.
It was. And I fortunately had worked with an editor. I had a bunch of articles that I had written. And I thought, of course, during the early parts of the pandemic, I thought, well, I could put these together, these blogs together and such into a kind of a nice little story of books. And I searched around for someone to help me because I'm not naturally a writer. a book writer. And I found this editor, and I read some of her stuff, and she was hilarious. And I thought, and just that reading some of hers, I thought, this is what I want. Someone that kind of bring out humor in these stories. Make it a book that people can smile at occasionally.
And enjoy.
Oh yeah, I did that before too. And not be coming from some high, on the mountain, I'm the expert type of guy, but make it humble. And, I've made these mistakes too, and we can get past them if we learn our lessons from them. And so we kind of started talking, and it was kind of Wednesdays with Bev, and we would talk for an hour or so, and she'd say, that's a cool story. Let's, write something about that. And then we'd, the next week,
cool.
kind of look over my stuff and say, yeah, now what did you learn from that experience? And then, kind of, each chapter was about a month. So it took about, 4 weeks of, how about this idea, then write up the idea, then talk more about it. And she said, you investment people, sometimes you're long-winded, but with some of these things, you're so superficial. If you had a weird client, we want to know about her.
Sure.
And so chapter of the book was about this client, Eloise, who was fascinating older woman that I met literally, first week or two of the job. And let's talk about her. What were some of the fun things? And so she brought out a lot of the humor and I think the depth of the book. And then we, were joking, that reminds me of a movie. So we started adding different movie recommendations in the book.
Ah, very good.
And, great quotes. And of course, there's plenty of, quotes from different investment people, but there are also some great stories from Buddhist writers and other people that, I just wanted to throw in enough that would kind of show people that it's, it can be a natural part of your life. It doesn't have to be this mystery of, oh my God, money. And the minute you say that, it gives you a headache, and it can be kind of fun.
So do you have a chapter called Show Me the Money? Had to ask. Had to.
That would have been great.
That line, believe me, back then, when did Jerry Maguire come out? In the 90s, maybe?
90s, I would say.
Like that,
I heard that from a couple of clients along the way, and joking with me. Most of my clients have been well versed in my long-term philosophy, but I did have a client one time who he unfortunately had some bad experiences in the market and was very skeptical. And he'd call me, well, what are you going to do now? And this and that. And now I've been working with him for over 10 years, and he'll call me up and he'll say, Mick, I know what you're going to say. I know you're going to tell me to calm down.
Just
relax. I need to hear it. I need to hear the thing, and so that's been kind of the fun of working through the clients. And so, the Show Me the Money people, they either have been trained or they've moved on to other advisors,
What's been your experience with selling nonfiction books? Has it been fun, or has it been challenging?
It's been, well, for me, it's been really fun. I don't know if it's not, it's not on your New York Times bestseller yet and such. And it's ebbed and flowed a little bit depending on some of the podcasts I've been on, but it's absolutely been fun. And, talking to you all and talking to other people. And it does seem, it's a funny thing because you think what you said is, it's a commonsensical approach, but it can be kind of boring. But I've tried to present it as but boring is unique because everybody's out there trying to sell the prediction of the next recession or the great inflation or the this or that. And how many people are talking about, will you calm down? And
no one is.
So
no one is.
It's uniquely boring.
Not one person.
And I'll tell you the one thing I've not made it on. I think I made it on one show where it was an investment podcast where typically people were predicting things and everything else.
Sure.
And I'm telling them, you shouldn't pay attention to these people, and I'm thinking, I'm not getting invited back to this. And so there's a guy, Kramer, who's out there talking about the stock market every day and about different investment picks.
I was just about to talk about him.
he's a smart guy. Wouldn't say anything bad about him, but what I would say is that when he talks about a stock, he's talking about it from his perspective. He's not looking at you. He's not looking at me. And he's also oftentimes not telling you when to sell it. And so he's a great, he's a very popular guy and fun to watch and intelligent. But I don't know how helpful he is. So I don't think Kramer's going to interview me either. And so there was a great show, Wall Street Week, that my grandpa used to watch on Friday evenings. And I always dreamed of being on Louis Rukeyser and being one of
right. I remember that.
Sure. Well, unfortunately, that didn't happen either. But this is my shot to kind of talk about this philosophy, hopefully help people. You know, if some listener is going to, you know, be a little more relaxed or a little more long-term oriented, that to me is, and so I don't know if it's the book or the podcasts, you know, that's going to help more people. But either way, that's kind of my mission right now, is to kind of try to, in the midst of all this noise and all this, you know, kind of, everybody's saying like right now, oh my God, what do we do now because of what's going on? Well, it's this too can pass.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And, if my mission here is to kind of help people relax, that however it gets out, that's what I'm happy with. Yeah.
You know, you mentioned Kramer. He is obviously he's all the things that you mentioned. He is a smart guy. He's got a lot of people who follow him, but he makes these picks, and like you said, he doesn't go, hey, you need to sell this, that, I picked this thing 6 months ago, but you need to sell it. He never comes back and says, get rid of this thing. They have a fund that picks opposite of him. Whatever he says, they pick the opposite. That fund is doing very well.
And that's a funny thing that I've always said there's a lot of ways to slice the thing, and that would be one. But I don't know. I still am going to keep with my long term. I won't go with the anti-Kramer fund either.
You said something earlier, which I think is really just right on target, which is when you go to high school, they teach you a bunch of stuff that has no value whatsoever. I mean, I can think about the classes that I went to, and it's like, why did I waste, a semester of my time, my valuable time, learning these silly things? Some things were very valuable, but one thing that has struck me since I got out of high school is, why didn't they have a mandatory class where you sat down and talked to someone about finance? How do you save? How do you get a loan? How do you, fill out a application for things? Yeah. How do you fill out your taxes? How, all of the things that as an adult, you're going to have to deal with these things. And if your education for that is the people with their hair on fire, like what you're talking about, that's bad education.
Absolutely. And it really is a shame. I have a client who would tell me he had, I think, 12 grandkids, and every one of them, he said,
holy cow.
He said, whenever you go to work, pay yourself first. In other words, of course, you got to pay your rent and your utilities and your savings account. He said, I don't care if it's $50. I don't care if it's $10. Get in the habit of saving the money. Yeah. When do you hear that? His grandkids.
Never.
Not often.
That would be one of those things, just like what you talked about. How to open an account, how to put money in, how to do it over time, what the consequences are. One of my sons, I think it was his senior year, spring quarter, no one's paying attention to anything. And the teacher gave him an extra credit project. He said, yeah, if you want to have some fun, pretend you got a job somewhere and you start saving money, and you pick how much after pretend you're renting and you're paying all these utilities and you're saving some money. How long will it take, based on compounding your return, to get to $1 million? And so my son came home. He said, I don't want to. I said, no, this is not extra credit. This is required. You have to try this out. And he started having fun with it. And I thought, why is that extra credit? Why
It shouldn't be. It should be credit.
Exactly.
Yeah, it should be required. Yeah.
If people could learn how compounding really helps. I actually had a colleague one time, one of the assistants came in, was so proud of the car that she bought, and was saying, and for an extra $5,000, you can't believe the things I was able to add to it. And he said, that didn't cost you $5,000. Mm-hmm. What do you mean? No, that cost you $50,000. That cost you double what your car cost, because of 30 years. That's what that $5,000 could have meant to you.
Yep.
And we don't learn those things, and it doesn't. And then the opposite, like you said, with credit cards, it's the opposite. Try growing something at 20% against you. That's so harmful. And
for sure.
How much borrowing is there on credit cards? So my book doesn't necessarily get into some of those basics, but boy, if people could learn those, that would help half the problems.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have another book in you? What are you working on?
I've really been enjoying these podcasts and such, and I've actually thought my son is going to be starting to work with me, and he's a pretty funny guy. And I thought, well, maybe we could have like a Mellow Your Money, kind of how to calm down depending on what crazy stuff is going on in the world. And then I've also thought, though I haven't done anything about it, is maybe this mellow concept could work. Maybe mellow your politics, mellow your parenting.
Well, that's an idea. Yeah. That's an idea.
No, I'm not professing anything there, but I thought, we're so excitable these days about everything, and maybe
for sure
we need to calm down a little bit.
So you're thinking about a podcast?
I am. I've really enjoyed, like talking to you all and everything, and I would be in the infantile stages of it, but I thought, maybe that's another way of spreading this, like we say, a commonsensical, boring thing in the face of everything else that's out there.
Yeah. And, I said it was common sense, and I said it was unsexy, but I meant that in the best possible way.
No, I realize
it's very counterintuitive to everything that you're hearing everywhere else. And I think that makes it special.
No, I appreciate that. And that's what I was thinking when you said that, is in a way it's uniquely, not exciting, but that can be, a contrary concept. So, and being contrary in this business is almost where you always want to be, a little bit against.
Right.
it.
Yeah,
for sure. Well, look, if someone wants to pick up Mellow Your Money, where should they go?
Easiest place is Amazon or Barnes and Noble. And it's, and I decided to do all the different ways. So it's hardbacks, soft cover, and then if you can stand my voice, it's an audiobook version.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
That's cool. And where else can we find you? I know that you write articles on LinkedIn.
I am. You can find me on LinkedIn through my name, Mick Heyman, or Instagram at Mellow Your Money. And then my website is mellowyourmoney.com. And I'm happy to take emails too at mick@mellowyourmoney.com. And would love to correspond with anybody. I've got a little extra time here. And so if somebody has a question or just wants to talk about things, I'd love to hear from people.
That is cool. Well, look, I want to encourage everyone to get the education that you were supposed to get back in high school and pick up Mellow Your Money. I think that is a great, not just good for you, but maybe good for other people who are also not getting that in high school. So it would be a great gift, right? For birthdays, or graduation is coming up, right? Or, whatever, anything else.
It's a good idea for anyone who is, who's just left mom and dad's house and just need a little extra guidance for, how to get really started with savings and
I would add, even for people that are finding difficulty these days, and with the craziness that we're seeing, inherited money, whatever, I think there's a lot of history in it. I think even people who've been in the business for a while might have fun with some of the history that I throw in. And so, I think it can have a broad appeal, hopefully.
Awesome.
Mick, it's been a pleasure to talk to you, get to know you, and talk about a subject that we haven't talked about yet.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for coming on.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. It's been fun. I think you all do a great interview, and I really enjoyed it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, one other thing, when you get started on your podcast, if you run into a wall or you need some help or something, feel free to reach out and contact me. I'd be glad to give you some advice or
do that, or
just give you a kind word or whatever, because sometimes it can be frustrating.
And you guys can come and come on to my podcast sometime.
Sure.
That'd be great. Yeah, I'd love to. That's awesome.
Fun.
All right. Well, then next I'm going to invite Beth to tell us where to find her.
Hey, you can find me the usual haunts: Twitter, Facebook, Blue Sky, pretty much all of them at B.A. Freely, Freely. You can also find my books on the usual places: Barnes & Noble, Amazon, or on my website, BethAnnFreely.com. And you can check out my link tree, B.A. Freely. And come out to the Muses Funhouse if you are looking for some editing or some book trailers or a website build or some branding. Dirk and I can hook you up.
Yeah. All right. You can check me out at writeworks.dirkhooper.com. Also, I'm on the Muses Funhouse. I do marketing and branding and social media management. You can find me at Dirk Hooper Plus, Plus, and on Facebook at Dirk.Hooper. I'm also on LinkedIn at Dirk Hooper. I don't talk about it. So I'm going to look up Mick because I know he's writing articles and I want to read them. Before we go, I want to say that Beth is offering editing and book trailer services, and I'm offering author branding and social media management at themusesfunhouse.com. Thanks to our guest, Mick. And for Beth A. Freely, I'm Dirk Hooper saying, dream hard.
Take care.
Bye-bye.